Since the assassination of Charlie Kirk, which I will still say right up front, I don't believe he's dead. There's a lot of metadata that suggests he's not dead. But even if I'm wrong about one person. Whereas all of the voices which are spending all of their time talking all of the time about Charlie Kirk are wrong about top supplemental oxygen. They're wrong about the nature of the opioid epidemic. They're wrong about the nature of a supposed virus. They're wrong about why life expectancy went down. They're wrong about the death and effectively the planned murder of several 100,000, if not 1 million or more Americans. So the totality of what I am wrong about, and if I'm wrong about the live or death nature of Charlie Kirk, is very small compared to what all of the let's talk about Charlie Kirk all the time people are wrong about. So I don't believe Charlie Kirk is dead. However, if he is dead, it particularly doesn't make any sense that he would be killed by Israel. In spite of what Glenn Greenwald and the rest of the spineless people out there and all the controlled opposition are saying, it doesn't make any sense why Israel would so publicly make so many mistakes and leave so much metadata and then kill Charlie Kirk in a way to be able to have people not hear the truth. How is it possible that Israel, controlling the internet and all the chips and all the technology and all the patents and all the lawyers and all the movies and controlling every company and everything, can be so stupid as to do Google searches from their own country without using a VPN for the same medical examiner several 100,000 times and never save the result? Sorry, that's obviously planted data. And anyone that isn't willing to point out that that's planted data is also either an imbecile, an idiot, or also on the take. Also, Israel is small. Israel has, 12 million people? A GDP less than the state of Massachusetts. Matter of fact, the state of Massachusetts, one state in the United States of America, is technically more powerful than Israel from a GDP standpoint and from an earnings per capita standpoint. And as to total number of degrees, I think amongst the population within Massachusetts is probably equal to that, if not higher than that of Israel. And I don't mean to bash Israeli citizens, everyday people in Israel. This isn't really about that. Nor as an American, as a U.S. citizen, as a U.S. shareholder, multi-generational, since the country has been founded, basically, and before people even arrived in some cases. I'm for this country or against other country. I don't really understand this whole thing. You know, if I were to be an American that was Uganda. If I loved Uganda, I should move to Uganda. It's no skin off my back. There's no judgment here. Life is short. People should move to where they feel they should be, where they should be at home. Just like being anti-something or other, anti-China, anti-Russia, anti-England, anti-whatever, okay? Fill in the blank. Focus on your own stuff first. And if you can check all the boxes and solve all the problems in your life and help resolve all the problems in the community of the family and the friends around you, and if you actually have excess time and wealth, well, then knock yourself out, I guess. But still, I doubt that will ever happen. Focus what's right in front of you and right around you first. So this whole pro-anti-other stuff, it just bugs me. Why would Israel, a small nation without a lot of money, a GDP smaller than Peru, just have so much power and leave so much sloppy metadata around, and then in the process escalate all of the talk about Israel? And I've been so bothered at how polarizing this other outside nation of Israel is. Now, if Israel just happened to have the largest population of the people in the world, supposed to 12 million, and if they were on track to have the world's largest GDP in 10 to 15 years, as India is, as opposed to Israel, that would be a different story. Then I'd be like, well, still, focus inward first, but wow, that's a power. And here's the problem, though, okay? While everyone is focusing on Charlie Kirk and all of these $1 million contributions from Israel to Charlie Kirk and Turning Point USA, Charlie Kirk was actually talking probably more about India. And India is a country that does right now have the world's largest population. And India is a country that is on track to have the world's largest GDP. And India is a country that does not have the demographic catastrophe that China currently has, where a vast percentage of their country is going to die off within the next 20 to 40 years because of old age. There are no people in the United States government right now that were born in China. However, we have more people in the United States government born in India than just about born in any other outside nation. In fact, more so than Israel. And if you want to highlight a conflict of interests, we had a United States congressional seat. The subcommittee in Congress, House of Representatives, regarding the Chinese Communist Party and matters related to the Chinese Communist Party, that was led by a man named Raja Krishnamurthy, an elected representative who was born in India. We have an Indian-born person in control of U.S. policy and, at least from the congressional standpoint, and interaction with China. Talk about a conflict of interest. It would be akin to, and I know there's a lot of controlled narratives here, but just take it with a grain of salt, having the daughter of Putin considered to be a U.S. citizen and then an elected United States congresswoman in charge of United States economic recovery of Ukraine. It would be like that. It would be that stupid, but it's been allowed. We have someone born in India who is the head of the National Institutes of Health, Jayanta Bhattacharya, a man who is woefully unqualified to run the NIH. Woefully unqualified. I'm not sure if anybody right now, there's almost nobody right now in our health institutes. We have people born in Turkey, people born in England who are Egyptian. Nobody. I don't see many people born in Israel, though, running these institutes. And what we see here, this was September 11th, 2025, the Times of India, day after Charlie Kirk is dead, runs an article, America's Full, highlighting Charlie Kirk's statements about India, highlighting Charlie Kirk's statements that the United States has enough people from India. Did Charlie Kirk say anything about that of Israel? No. He did say it about India, though. And right now, I think the average per capita or income in the United States of America of Indian families is higher than that of Israeli or Jewish families. So how do we have probably the most powerful foreign lobby in the United States right now, and definitely on track for the future, is India? Why is this never part of the conversation? People have already accepted and put out there the possibility, don't give me this shit that some foreign country won't do it now. Because everyone has been publicly screaming and yelling, and we assume it's a possibility that a foreign nation like Israel would just go out there and is just running around prancing and assassinating people willfully. Maybe Charlie Kirk was speaking out about India. And we are now led to believe that he was actually speaking out about Israel. Now, Israel's future is probably going to be with India. Israel's relationship with the United States is probably going to sour. Steps have probably already been taken to fracture it off. Israel right now is very creatively being used as this tool to divide the Republican Party, which is only going to make the Democratic Party in the United States, the blue movement, even more powerful, which is where the power base of the Indian infiltration, the Indian government infiltration into the United States is. This plays perfectly into foreign control over the United States. And don't give me this shit that this can't happen, because everyone has already assumed it can happen because Israel can do it. And if it's possible for 12 million people of the nation of Israel with the 49th largest GDP to take over the United States and to control worldwide assassinations, then how is it not possible for a country with 1.6 billion people? Do the math. That means that there's 130 to 140 people in India for every one Israeli, and is on track to have the world's largest GDP. And also, don't give me this shit about Israel and this whole, greater Israel, greater Zionist in the central of all the world trade routes. Do a Google search. The center of the historical trade routes in the world is the Indian Ocean. It's not Israel. The world doesn't have a history of everyone from all over the place, hopping on a choo-choo train through the Gaza Strip. No. The center of world trade historically, going back to the year 1200, is the Indian Ocean. It is India. And good for them, by the way. That's cool. I've got no problem with that. Okay. If they are centrally located, if they have many resources nearby, if they can add value, fantastic. I'm a New Englander. I'm an American. I live up here. The only place I would move outside the United States if territories realign someday may be Newfoundland. I feel very at home in Newfoundland for some odd reason, or Nova Scotia. But other than that, this is my homeland. All right. So as an American with people in my family from all over the world, this is not a racial thing. This is purely a political thing, though. And Charlie Kirk, though, 5 months ago said something that was really shocking. And I think makes me think that maybe I should reconsider the possibility that Charlie Kirk was assassinated. Of course, nobody right now who's, setting their shoe leather on fire at who knows whose expense is putting out this possibility. They want everything to be about Israel. Everything. All the polarizing opinions need to be about Israel. Did you notice that? Either Israel did it or Israel didn't do it. Even though the population isn't there, even though historically it really isn't the center of the world. Sorry, it isn't. The heaviest trade routes in the world are from the Persian Gulf out through around India. So let's see what Charlie Kirk said. A war between Pakistan and India, and he said this on May 8th. That's right around the time that the metadata started to pile up. The metadata started to pile up that Israel was willing to kill Charlie Kirk. Let's see what Charlie Kirk said.
India and Pakistan are on the verge of a war. What does this mean exactly? Well, here's the basics. Pakistan is 100% Muslim. Remember, they sheltered bin Laden and have been a very, very sneaky actor. India is mostly Hindu. They don't care for each other much at all. There's a region called the Kashmir that they dispute. There was just a Muslim terrorist attack on tourists there, which Pakistan seems to be linked to, so India is furious. There were air and missile strikes on 9 different sites in Pakistan, killing a few dozen people. Reportedly, some airplanes have been lost on both sides. These are big countries. They have more than 1.7 billion people between them. And
also note that in New York City right now, we're supposed to believe that a Muslim man is running for mayor. But in reality, I think he's just Indian. But they want us to focus on Muslim.
But that should go no further than moral support. That is it. This is not our conflict to get involved in. I do not believe this will escalate in any way, shape, or form.
And here he is, Charlie Kirk, calling out, saying the U.S. should not get involved in the war between India and Pakistan. That's an odd video to make right around the time that suddenly all these seeds are being thrown out there that Israel is getting ready to kill Charlie Kirk.
But this is a great test of whether or not every conflict is America's problem.
Give it 2 minutes.
And both are nuclear powers, by the way, and most people don't know that. Both Pakistan and India have nuclear weapons, which actually then will decrease the likelihood of either side using nuclear weapons. Is the fact that both sides have
I can't blame him for still thinking about nukes.
Assured destruction.
Most people still do.
Trump said yesterday that India is willing to drop all of its tariffs, by the way, on trade with the United States, which is good for icing out China because India very well could become the new China. What you're seeing there is
India is going to destroy China.
I think they think these are kind of like two birds peacocking at each other, but instead of two birds, it's like Pakistanis and Indians peacocking at each other. Very strange, but again, more power to them. They can do whatever they want. And so this is them at the border. They kind of are taunting each other. You actually can go see this live. They have tickets where you can go to the Kashmir border. They actually have arena seating where you can watch this. And they do this like every day at 4 or 5 p.m. where the Pakistani and the Indian armies This is a visualization of this is not our culture. This is not our fight. We have nothing to do with this. If they want to go high step and high kick their way into a war, I hope they don't. A lot of innocent people die in war. War is terrible. The only role that we should have is to help negotiations and have moral support. We should not supply armaments. I'm sure Lindsey Graham and John Bolton are already on a plane somewhere to New Delhi try to figure out how we can annex Pakistan or try to give F-35s. No, enough of that. This is not our fight. This is not our region. We hope for a ceasefire. We hope that this does not result in more unnecessary deaths. Ro Khanna was already suggesting that we get involved. These neocons know no limit to
calling out Ro Khanna,
our own borders.
Calling out Ro Khanna,
the cartels. That way, we should very much get involved in the cartels. We should get involved against the Chinese Communist Party, not militarily, but by every other means. Again, I'm just looking at this high-stepping stuff. But they're still in the 1100s.
Chinese Communist Party is not much of a threat as they say it is. China's got too many of their own problems.
If this escalates, they'll also pressure us to take refugees. Nope. Not going to happen.
All right, good for you, Charlie.
Stuff we should get more involved in. Yesterday, in a lesser-covered news story, we seized 3 million fentanyl pills from the Sinaloa drug cartel yesterday. The largest such seizure in American history. Enough to kill 200 million Americans.
So Charlie Kirk not only is saying no more support for India, not only is he saying U.S. should not help India fight Pakistan, even though he seems to have this, as many. And again, I understand, okay? I mean, Charlie Kirk is like, 20, maybe 18 years younger than me. There's a lot of learning, and he's surrounded by a lot of liars. So I'm not going to blame him for being in the thick of it. A lot of these myths I believed in up until 5-8 years ago myself. However, though, he's saying the U.S. should stay out of this conflict. He's calling out no more of this immigration from India. It's definitely not in the U.S. interests. And he's saying, guess what? We have this problem with massive amount of deaths from fentanyl. We need to prioritize that. Wow, what an interesting series of statements to make. While everyone is focused on what Charlie Kirk said about Israel, which really doesn't impact the U.S. that much. I don't care how many millions it brought in the turning point for USA. Oh, that's right. We have a Ugandan, actually Indian director of the FBI who's unwilling to do the investigation. Huh, that's interesting. Didn't see that one coming. Oh, that's right. He was a big fanboy of, who was it? James Comey or the district in New York? No wonder why they wouldn't do the investigation if there was an assassination. The metadata still looks like he wasn't assassinated. Again, if I'm wrong about one person. It's nothing personal. The people that are talking about Charlie Kirk all the time, like Candace Owens and whatever, other losers, they are the ones who are wrong about hundreds of thousands or millions of other deaths. So I can be wrong here, okay? It's up for them. But if they are going to spend all of their time, and I mean all of their time, and allow other people to continue to die while they lie for money, you might as well at least throw out plausible options about who might have actually been behind it. And everyone says, follow the money, right? Follow the money. Well, sure, follow the money. Where's the biggest country, the country that has the largest GDP, which country is still having population growth and still having at least medium-sized families being made? It has the largest average per family income within the United States of America, and has infiltrated all levels of positions within the United States government with people that are native to that country. It's not Israel. It's India. So if evidence that Charlie Kirk said something disparaging about Israel is proof that Israel killed him, guess what? I win, because Charlie Kirk saying something disparaging about India that has far more people, far more money, and far more motivation to get involved in this type of thing makes even more sense. And this is what I'm going to be reviewing in this show. I forgot how I've done videos before highlighting how many people, elected officials within the United States government, were born in India. Way more than born in any other country, including Israel. Way, way more. I think the only country that actually has more is of all things, Ireland. And Ireland is one of the most trusted trading partners of India. Israel's future is to be aligned with India. Israel's future is not to be aligned with the United States. So if there is any willingness of Israel to throw out their things which could be used as seeds to divide the Republican Party, fantastic. That works out great because all the blues, almost the entire, even this neocon, the Ro Khanna that was just called out, are totally going to benefit and take advantage of fracturing within the Republican Party. That's exactly what they want. And they want Republicans fighting each other over Israel. Remind you that much of the evidence about a lab origin virus, a bioweapon regarding COVID-19 came out of India. Another weird data point I'll throw out there, and this is me being really definitely more on the conspiratorial side, is regarding this the possibility that China made a virus, China made a bioweapon. Oh, that's right. I remember there's some tall, goofy people who are spending their time right now talking about Israel and Charlie Kirk all the time. Oh my goodness, I can't remember their name. Oh, yeah, but they did all kinds of stupid videos about Guangzhou Qiao, the Chinese woman who worked at the National Microbiology Laboratory and suggesting how she was shuttling Ebola back and forth between China and Wuhan and the National Microbiology Laboratory in Canada. And I bring that up because the early reports that Guangzhou Qiao was potentially responsible for, or as evidence that China was involved in creating this bioweapon, came out of a military defense institute and strategy institute in India and related colleges. And they were working with somebody. Let me see if I can go down here. If we go to Guangzhou Qiao, and that's last name Qiu, Guangzhou. That's Xiangguo, a very trusted person of Dr. Francis Plummer, who was also killed early in the pandemic, by the way. And if we look at this disparaging stuff that came out here, seeding this narrative that she was potentially some type of Chinese spy, that actually started in 2019, in July 2019, from the Manohar Parrikar Institute for Defense Studies, the MPIDSA out of India. There's still a live link here. And these, let me see here, which you can still view in here. Let's see here. This is actually the live link. Maybe it doesn't work anymore. That would be interesting. No, it's still live. And we see that it was written by a man named Danny Shoham. Shoham. Danny Shoham was the author of it. Now, most people don't know, don't have a deep dive on Danny Shoham, but because we do the real work here. We just don't have bonfires and parties, and then beat our chest and claim to be the greatest thing while actually allowing hundreds of thousands of deaths to occur and just having a good time while that happens and laughing and so on. We actually do the real work because we've seen, we've experienced real pain, such as, a tremendous number of family members and friends killed by an engineered drug epidemic with drugs which come from India, not China. Not China. Let's see here. We can go back over to, no, that's right. Let's see here. We're going to have to go back up to the S's, I think, here. Shoham. Danny Shoham. Danny Shoham has been very critical of Guangzhou. And if you want to look at him, Danny Shoham, you can find some pictures of him out there. Let's see here. Images. There's Danny Shoham. Okay. There he is. Interesting looking dude. There he is, looking quite emaciated, okay? And Danny Shoham is very, very aligned with India, I guess. That's where he's doing all his work. Now, I don't know. I'm just going to throw out there this weird thing, okay? This is speculation. This is just some fun speculation. But the age of Danny Shoham is not that far off from the age of a super soldier from Israel, who died on 9/11 named Danny Lewin. I've always wondered, because Danny Lewin, after he died, after trying to stop one of the hijackings, I guess he died. He's officially the first person that died on 9/11. Let's see here. Danny Lewin, not Lewin, Lewin, Lewin. Lewin's face was obviously a lot more round. But, if you take Danny Lewin, maybe give him a little bit of hair growth, age him a little bit. I wonder. A little bit of plastic surgery. I wonder if it's possible that the person that is, involved with working with the defense institutes in India, which say that China did it, might even been the not actually died person that died as the first death on 9/11. I don't know. Either way, Danny Shoham or Shalom went on to become write this paper about the anthrax evidence. Anthrax evidence points to Iraq. That's kind of weird. I didn't know that we had a lot of our investigation, a lot of our information that the anthrax actually came from Iraq. It's amazing how all this evidence that was used about where the anthrax came from all plays into the hands of knocking out political and military problems for India. Meanwhile, everyone is saying that it's just about helping Israel and the Greater Israel Project. I don't know whether the Greater Israel Project would ever happen. There's not going to be enough Israelis in the next 100 years to ever populate the damn area. But here we are. So, these are just some ideas that I'm throwing out there to get things started. Let me play a little bit of music to get myself, maybe get myself in the mood here. I don't even know what I will play. Let me make sure I have that set to mute. While I find something, I'm going to do some quick hellos, and maybe this won't be a very long show. Maybe this is just going to be kind of a ranty blast, and then I'll go about my day. I don't know. Let's see here. What can we? This is maybe more. Maybe this is groovier than it should be. But I think this is the right tune. Mark Kulak, Houstonic.live, 3:03 p.m. Sunday, November 2nd, 2025. Okay. Looks like a holdover from British India to me. Yeah, he might be. And again, when you look at the scale of the crimes which are currently being ignored and the number of deaths, hundreds of thousands of people were impacted. I hesitate to say, even though it's almost certainly true, that over 100,000 people were killed via an on-ramp of death and protocols which started with supplemental oxygen. But when you look at all of those deaths and a drug epidemic, a fatal drug overdose epidemic in the United States, which it mostly targets young people. And over the last several years, we've had 1 out of every 30 deaths, 1 out of every 30 deaths of all ages, all reasons, just in the United States is a drug overdose of a young person. Now, naturally, we don't have many 85-year-olds dying of fentanyl overdoses. And someone who is given fentanyl as part of a hospice protocol won't count. And accidental fatalities from wrongful prescriptions in hospital stays also doesn't count. So most people, even in spite of the worst of things happening, the deaths are elderly people. And what that means is that when you factor that out, okay, and adjust for things. Right now, the odds of someone being born, okay, if nothing were to change, the odds of someone being born in the United States, dying in their lifetime before the age of, say, 60 of a drug overdose, is 1 in 15 or greater. 1 out of every 15 babies being born right now, if nothing changes, and something will change, but in current trajectories, is going to die before they reach old age of a drug overdose. These numbers are so off the charts that they can't even seem possibly right, but it's true. This is the rate that we're on right now, and this total control, this unwillingness to allow anything to be about talking not just about Charlie Kirk, but how Charlie Kirk was killed by Israel. See, that's the thing. Now, I haven't considered the possibility, really up until just a couple of hours ago, that Charlie Kirk may have been killed by something other than Israel. That for some reason nobody has that on the plate. It's either a lone wolf, crazy kid, who has SSRIs or something else, or it's Israel. That's it. Nothing else is allowed right now. Now, there's many things about his death that look very, very fake. If I'm wrong, well, all of those people, and there's an echo that's driving me bananas here. If I'm wrong, I'm not wrong by more than one person. So the extent of it is limited. But why not talk about anyone else? Why not talk when I saw yesterday these lengthy conversations about all of the ways that Israel's involved in all of these political assassinations and how powerful they are. They seem so absurd because Israel's just not that big. It would make more sense to say that Peru is running around the world assassinating people uncontrollably. And that sounds ludicrous. Let's anchor on where the most people and the most money are. Should I be more worried about China? China has such a demographic catastrophe. I have sympathy for President Xi and the fact that he has 1.5 billion people, and China only had 10 million births last year. The number was horrible. China has a demographic catastrophe to work out. And I don't know how they're going to do it. I don't know how Xi is going to figure that problem out. So I think that Xi does not wake up in the morning thinking about how to screw around with Americans, given the fact that I think 400 to 800 million less Chinese people will exist by the end of the century. That is a problem. That is a scale that's so unimaginable that I don't think figuring out how to, better your trade deal with the United States is at the top of his, worry list in the morning. That's a statement of fact. Did you guys know that Skyhorse is releasing Cheryl Hines' book Unscripted? First of all, some hellos. Hello, Vilma. Great to have you here, as always. Cheryl Hines' book is Unscripted. Isn't that amazing? Because that's the word of the day, scripted. They're scripted actors. They are people playing themselves on a script. Cheryl Hines, I believe, played Cheryl Hines in the, Curb Your Enthusiasm. Larry David played Larry David in Curb Your Enthusiasm. Seinfeld played Seinfeld in Seinfeld. Jerry Seinfeld did. When Jerry Seinfeld did it for the series Seinfeld, maybe I'm naive. I don't think Jerry Seinfeld was planning this to be like the new way to rule the world. But no doubt, when Larry David had that Curb Your Enthusiasm show, either it was the idea at the beginning or sometime during it, and Larry David was a big writer for Jerry Seinfeld. It's about having people who are playing themselves, but they are also on a script, right? So what they're going to say is already controlled by something. And what the heck? I got this stupid thing up here in Odyssey showing me about how old photos of Clint Eastwood have been updated. Anyways, Cheryl Hines' book, yeah, it's coming. So it's about scripting. And all of the drama right now that we see online is about, what does this podcaster say about this journalist? What does this journalist say about this Substack writer? What does this Substack writer say about this actor, and that actor say about this this podcaster? Who are all these people? They're not even elected officials, and we're getting involved in all of their. What did this person? What did he say about her? And what did she say about him? And so on and so forth. And now we have, of course, elected officials. This isn't really new, but many of them are also Hollywood connected. Reading the rest of it, it's coming out on Veterans Day. The chat message goes on to say, I'm married to a veteran. Congratulations. Give that person our thanks. And I'm very angry about their lack of respect for brave veterans, of which there are a diminishing quantity, but yeah, total lack of respect. Yeah, no, they can't stand them. There is a deep-rooted hatred for U.S. military within much of the MAGA movement. It doesn't take long to find it. It doesn't take long to find it at all. Methinks it's been going on for quite a while. It has been going on for quite a while. Fletch earlier said, good experience. I've known enough Chinese. And look, one of the best weddings of my life I ever went to was a man named Eric, who grew up in the United States, and he's Indian. Lovely guy, awesome wife. This is, and I worked with a man named, I'll only say his first name. His name is Ganesh. And he was a senior engineer, field engineer, support engineer at EMC Corporation, obviously 100% Indian, born in India. And he said he went there, and this is a long time ago right now, when he was like in his early 50s. First time he went back for a long time, and he said he would never go back. Okay, so it's definitely a serious cultural thing. For heaven's sakes, look at our collaboration with Jonathan Cooey. This is not a racial thing, but that it is a national and a cultural thing. Okay. U.S. culture is very different than India. We are very passive. Compared to that culture, and people from India whose kids have grown up here, trust me, it's the same way. They are. It's like a different world right now. China's got so many problems. I'm not worried about them. And I have to admit, when I was in China, I was treated with incredible hospitality. Those 2 weeks in China, it must have happened for a reason. All right. I went there with, little concern and skepticism, but I think most people around the world can treat each other well, but there's something about that caste society. I don't know what it is. And once people are out of it for a while, it's, they can, you have to shed it. You have to wash it out. And let's see, let me go back here a little bit here. Tall, goofy people. Yeah. H-1Bs are rampant. And what did Trump do? He dramatically raised the cost of H-1B visas. They used to be like, $5,000 once and you're done. Now they're $100,000 a year. Should we be discouraging it? I don't know how much that's going to do to help, internally hire Americans. It may backfire. I haven't assessed it, but wow, it's a step in the right direction. It's an acknowledgement. Look, it's a little bit like, maybe now that I'm going to find some Charlie Kirk background based upon what I'm looking for as opposed to what people want me to see. I can see him at this where is it? Shown on his Facebook page. And what is he talking about here? He's talking about the U.S. should not get involved in the war between India and Pakistan. 100% agree. And the United States needs to focus on itself first. 100% agree. All nations should, by the way. It's not like the U.S. should be the only country doing it. States should focus on themselves. Towns should focus on themselves before states. People should focus on their families first. And it's not because one's own family is more important than anyone else's family, okay? But no one knows how to better care and how to care for more equitably and efficiently than someone around somebody than certain people, than people that are either their closest of friends or within their own family. It's not that you have your best friends, you have your parents, your kids, your spouse, whatever. The people that you are closest to, you presumably are the person most qualified to know what they need and what they don't need, how to care for them, and so on. Not someone that's more and more distant. So localization of addressing problems and having concern isn't about not caring. It's not, I shouldn't say this. It's not about, there being some superiority of things closest to us or negligence about other things. It's about, if you can't care for your own family efficiently, what are the odds that what the nutritional shortcomings are of someone in their diet on a small island nation in the Pacific Ocean? No way. Just focus on yourself first. Arthur, Nova Scotia, I've been there. I have not been there in a long time, Arthur. And in fact, when for my 40th birthday, we said, screw it. And my wife and I, and we went to, oh my goodness, Newfoundland, where I've always wanted to go, which isn't exactly geographically that far from me. But you have to take some small planes to get there and, some money. And I said, look, if I'm going to go there, I want to stay at the nicest hotel in Newfoundland. And I'm not even going to tell you the price, but it was not cheap. It was a lot of money. That said, we never did a honeymoon, so, we had ways to be able to afford it. And, we were both working at the peak of our career, so we were able to do it. And that hotel is where I met a woman who I think at one point was almost a billionaire in some ways in Canada, one of the richest women in Canada. And it was from her. She every once in a while, like two or three times a week at her hotel, where she built everything on the island and hires only people who are from the island. And this is Fogo Island, which is off of Newfoundland. She said that a phrase that always guided her, where she got from someone else, was the most important thing is to keep the most important thing as the most important thing, which sounds so stupid and redundant, but people keep forgetting this. They keep tackling problems out of order of priority. They keep worrying about things out of order of priority. And she said that every time she ran into a dilemma business-wise, she always kept that phrase going through her head, and more often than not, it would guide her. Okay. Now, I'm not saying that, I haven't seen her since then. I'm not in communication, not friends with her, but it was a very fortunate experience that I had. Anyways, we went straight to Newfoundland. And Newfoundland is beautiful, but it has its problems as well. Many people have left Newfoundland. Newfoundland, how many people want to make a life living, want to make a life fishing off of Newfoundland right now? There's not a ton of money in it. And they're in competition with foreign fishing boats, many which are, look, if you want to be pissed about China for something, is the use of waters around there where they'll just, these trawlers will come in from China and just scoop up all the fish. That's something to be complaining about. They get tons of calories by having these huge boats, fishing off of shores that are, almost halfway around the earth. I don't blame them for doing it. They need calories. But just the same, that definitely destroys ecosystems that are closer to where we live. Let's see here. The word grotesque comes to mind in the caste system. Perhaps. And look, it's for Indians to deal with. It's not our responsibility, assuming you live in the United States, garden variety girl. It's not our responsibility for there to be affluence and happiness in other countries. We don't actively want other people to not have prosperity and affluence elsewhere, but just the same, you have to deal with the problems right in front of you first. You have to help the people directly in front of you first. Which means, it's not our job. And I'm not going to pass judgment on India. What I've heard, though, is that some people were born in India and done well in the U.S. and have come to really understand and embrace the United States and American culture and don't want it disturbed. They're not in the United States saying, "Oh, United States is racist and mean." What kind of an idiot are you to move to another country where everyone's racist and mean? That means either someone's stupid to moving to a country where everybody hates you, or you're a monster who is totally ungracious of an incredible opportunity that you got for a better life in another country. So Indians that I've known who have come to the United States and themselves or their children have just come to really love this country are like, look, we came here because it was better. We're not here to complain and bitch about things all the time. But unfortunately, the voices that are rising right now within the U.S. government, which tend to be aligned with India, are not coming at it from that particular context. What's that? He's a Republican, Vivek Ramaswamy. I don't know. At least he has shown Not all the time. He has a lot of shortcomings, but some appreciation for the United States, and is not saying, "Look, it's time to blow it up." If you don't like it, move. The double standards just drives me bananas. Most immigrants love the United States more than many natives. Thank you, Vilma. I think that's true. Not all, but I think a lot of them do. It must take a lot of tolerance to want to go to another country and work there. Of course, look, this is a deep and wild conversation here, and with many but this and but that and so on. And the United States, we need to have conversations about what does it even mean to be a citizen? What does citizenry even mean? Who owns the United States? Who owns U.S. resources? Should someone be able to move into the United States and then after 2 years take a quiz and then suddenly they have as much right to ownership of the United States as someone that is from, 20 generations that have lived here in North America? What does it mean? These aren't racial questions. These aren't mean questions or bigoted questions. These are questions which people should be able to openly talk about. Just the same. If I move to Panama... If I moved to Panama and after a couple of years of paying taxes, I took a quiz and I passed it, do I now have a right to run for president in Panama and tell everyone else in Panama what to do? And if the answer is no, well, that's reasonable. That's not for me to decide. And as someone who is really more of an analyst, I think I'm getting a little bit out of my lane by getting too far into this. However, one thing that is in my lane, though, is to look at the evidence and to just be perplexed by the options that are being put on the table that Charlie Kirk was killed, and I don't think he was killed, but let's just assume that he was, okay? Or even if he wasn't, let's say he really wasn't, but we're supposed to be looking at the evidence. It actually doesn't matter if Charlie Kirk was killed or not. I apologize to you, Charlie Kirk, if you're dead, and if you're alive, you've told a pretty bad lie here. But it's not even about if Charlie Kirk is or isn't dead. The narrative is that Charlie Kirk was assassinated and is dead. And given that, okay, let's just roll with that. There is far more evidence and motivation that India would be behind his assassination than Israel. A vast, vast quantity of more motivation. And there's also statements of him saying some disparaging things as opposed to a leaked email where he questioned something about Bibi Netanyahu, which very easily could be planted evidence. It's very, very easy for just about everything that I've seen Candace Owens to present to be seeded evidence. A lot of it actually plays right into planting evidence that Israel would be behind his assassination and distract from the possibility or the reality that India would have been behind his assassination. And we are only encouraged to have the full debate about his assassination being limited to, money laundering, probably going to be Epstein soon, and Israel. Fine. If Israel had the biggest GDP and the biggest population, well, I'd be like, well, yeah, they're pretty powerful. But they don't. Vilma speaks for 1 million Cuban Americans. I've liked a lot of people from Cuba that I've met. And at some point, Vilma, we should talk about the Elian Gonzalez story. I never understood it. It never made any sense to me at all. I don't mean to change the subject from Charlie Kirk, but I just never the only thing I remember about the Elian Gonzalez story is that I was not into political research, historical research at the time. I'm focused on my family, focused on my job. It didn't seem, something felt wrong about there being so much attention to that one family and that one boy. I don't know where the crime was, where the crime wasn't. It's just like, why is this all over the news? I didn't really think, though, that maybe, I just figured that I guess people were interested. I don't know. It's one of those human interest stories, maybe. I never considered the possibility that it could be tied to far bigger things. And when we see on the cover of this book, The Year That Broke America, it's Elian Gonzalez, floating in the tube with, Donald Trump, Dick Cheney, Harvey Weinstein, George Bush, Gore, Jesse Jackson, Janet Reno, and Bill and Hillary Clinton, all part of the meltdown of the United States of America right before 9/11. It's like, and now, given what we know now, it's like, okay, now we're cooking with fire. Okay. Not saying Elian Gonzalez was involved in 9/11, but there's something about the nature of the story or the opportunity to use the story, or there's some other element of it. Now it makes sense. And this is how I can see all these things, like the whole Valerie Plame affair. She was a CIA agent who was openly living in Germany under her name and working as a consultant or teaching some classes, and then her cover was blown or something crazy, even though she really wasn't undercover at all. What the heck was that all about? Oh, it was all about Judith Miller, author of Germs, supposedly protecting her sources. Oh, now you can see, right? Now you can see there's a 9/11 angle to the whole Valerie Plame affair. It wasn't really about this, attractive young female American who is some top level agent who's now being unmasked in front of the world. Best viewers, whatever. I still have the original Miami Herald newspaper with Elian Gonzalez staged picture. Is that the one with Elian Gonzalez being, there's the American military guy? Thank you, Christy. The American military guy with the gun. It doesn't make any sense. The boy and the little Elian crying, which could be totally staged, but like, what's going on here? And also, I have been told that Janet Reno and others are very much open borders, which is also like, wait, why are we suddenly so enthusiastic about it? Just nothing about the story makes any sense at all. But I never looked into it. But I am interested right now in knowing just enough about why. And there must be a reason why Elian in the tube is on this cover here. Elian Gonzalez had to be a distraction from something. Christy's totally on it. Thank you, Christy. Yes, it must be a distraction from something. So, Charlie Kirk. And, see, I did have another link here. So, let's read another story that came out. So, the day after Charlie Kirk's assassination, this was the, not that one there. This was the Times of India. America is full. No space for Indians, Charlie Kirk says. By the way, America's not full. We have a lot of space in the United States. We have a lot of empty towns. We have the capacity to have a lot more people. Not saying we should have more people, because when you increase the number of people in the United States, that means that the voting power and the shareholder value of each existing American goes down a little bit. Now, maybe more people in the United States would lead to more intellectual property and more power and so on. But again, conversations that should be had. Reasonable conversations to have. Let's say, and I've heard, correct me if I'm wrong, if anyone in the chat thinks otherwise, that things are problematic in Venezuela. I don't know. Things are bad enough here and no one even listens to me in the United States. But let's say that things are so bad in Venezuela, all right, that half of Venezuela, and I think there's 25 million or 30 million people in Venezuela. Let's say half of Venezuela moves to the United States because Venezuela is so bad. That would mean that all Americans right now need to share the portion of their resources, their land, their retirement savings, and everything else in the United States with 10 or 15 million people that move into the United States from Venezuela. Okay. It also means that the few people who do own Venezuela now own more. So if I were a superpower person, and if I had ownership of Venezuela, and I wanted to own more of Venezuela, what would be great is to cause political turmoil in Venezuela, chase the people out of Venezuela to another country to take care of them, and then simply own the resources in Venezuela. How beautiful would that be? How easy is it to do something like that? I'm not saying that is what's happened. But these are ways that all of this, immigration can be used in ways which is really, it's not, that really wasn't the spirit of America having the doors opened for people who are dealing with awful circumstances in other places and want an opportunity. That wasn't the inspiration for the United States. The United States inspiration was, oh, you're in this smaller, relatively downtrodden spin-off of Christianity in England. You're never going to get into political power. There's opportunity in the United States for you. You're from a place in Sicily or China or Japan or Korea or whatever. There's an opportunity here in the United States that you may not get in your other country. You can have some safety here. You can have a better life. That's what it was meant to be. It wasn't meant to be so people could be chased off of their territories and then resources freed up elsewhere. So the United States is not meant to be. We are not meant to be, throwing up a wall and no one else comes in. Just the same, though, right? These things can be abused. And almost no one is ever willing to have a complete conversation about all the angles of these things here. So is there no space for Indians? I'm not sure I agree with that particular interpretation from Charlie Kirk. And Charlie Kirk probably didn't necessarily have a very well-educated, good take on exactly what was going on here. What Charlie Kirk should have said, though, was, why do we have so many people born in India in power in the United States? Why is the average family from India making 3 times as much family income as American families? How can you be born in India, fake your degree, go to Stanford, and then run Health and Human Services, and then in addition to that, have no qualifications to be an HHS director, and then in addition to that, ignore the role of the opioid epidemic in killing Americans? That's Jayanta Bhattacharya. I think that is what Charlie Kirk was speaking to. So, what Charlie Kirk was probably speaking to is far more directly impactful to India than it is Israel. And India has way more money and a way bigger future. Not only that, they even have a future that probably includes having a bigger sway and control over Israel than the United States. So, if we are to entertain the possibility that there are assassins from foreign countries, climbing up on top of buildings, taking shots at Charlie Kirk, shouldn't we consider the country with the most money and the most people and the biggest future and the most motive? I'm not saying that did happen, but if someone were to go down the steps of saying that Charlie Kirk was killed because of some international assassination plot, it should have the most likely player dominate the conversation. And instead, it never comes up. It's either Israel or nothing. That's it. Those are your options. No other country would have been involved. Why hasn't anyone considered the possibility that, I don't know, Nepal killed him? Maybe it was the Romanians or the Dutch. Maybe Morocco killed him, or Brazil, or Argentina, or Canada, or Mexico, or France. No other country. That's it. It's Israel, or we can't talk about it. That's it. So my instincts here is focusing on why is so polarizing about Israel. Why is it just that one country? That's it. No other country can be spoken of here. Anyways, India already has a spin within hours. Okay, the blood is still, well, it wasn't pouring out because I don't think he was killed. And if he did agree to this fake assassination, what was he told? America is full. No space for Indians, Charlie Kirk said. Times of India correspondent from Washington. That's nice. Among issues Charlie Kirk took a strong stand against was immigration, even legal immigration stemming from H-1B visas that many Indian students and professionals use. And by the way, full disclosure, I once had to teach my replacement on how to do my job when I was at EMC Corporation. I had to, via the phone and then in person, they were flown to the United States. I had to teach that person every line of code that I had written and how to do my job so that I could be replaced by someone who was willing to do it for a fraction of my work. Now, I wasn't laid off after that experience, but certainly, for several months, how could I be thinking anything else? And that person was a terrible coder. Very, very incompetent. Either way, that's not coloring, my opinion here, but that happened to me. Charlie Kirk said, quote, America does not need more visas for people from India. Perhaps no form of legal immigration has so displaced American workers as those from India. And I think he might even be right. In fact, he's kind of speaking for what I had to go through there. Enough already. We're full. Let's finally put our own people first. I'll disagree with Charlie Kirk on this. Are we full? No. But we're not dealing with our biggest problems first. And he said that on an X post on September 1st. Wow. He was responding to a Fox News anchor Laura Ingram's post suggesting that a U.S.-India trade deal might involve more visas for Indian professionals. Wow, so I guess if Bibi Netanyahu or whatever threatening to not send money to Turning Point, and then you have an Egyptian plane changing a tire in Utah is evidence that Israel or someone else was involved in the assassination of Charlie Kirk, then this would also be evidence that of a Charlie Kirk assassination, except it's involving India. Why haven't any of the other brainiacs put out this possibility? I don't see it anywhere. It's either Israel or it's Israel. That's it. Those are the only options. Or he didn't. No. I stand corrected. There's another option. And that is from Peggy Hall, who said that it's the Mormons and the Masons. It's the M&Ms. The Mormons and the Masons, I guess, staged the death of Charlie Kirk. That's right. That's the other option. That is Peggy Hall put the other option out there for us. Who are both in cahoots with Israel, right? Right. Last night I had someone in my chat being like, "Oh yeah, the Mormons, they're totally hooked up with Israel." Well, I'll tell you what, if the Mormons hooked up with Israel, they made a big mistake. Unless the Mormons also want to hook up with India. Because that's where Israel's future is. It's not with the United States. In a subsequent post on September 5th, 2025, Charlie Kirk supported policies reportedly being considered by the Trump administration to limit outsourcing to Indian companies, saying, quote, good, invest in this country first, hire American companies and American workers, unquote. Charlie Kirk also triggered views subsequently expressed by White House Trade Counselor Pete Navarro. Peter Navarro, that social media accounts promoting India's viewpoint on X were acting as foreign agents. You know what? I've always had a positive vibe about Peter Navarro. I'm just throwing that one out there. I'm not saying he's perfect, and I'm not saying he doesn't lie. He lies plenty. But I've never held him in extreme in a position of extreme like this guy is working against me. And seeing how eager so many people are to hate him makes me feel a little bit more compassionate. Peter Navarro's, that social media accounts promoting India's viewpoint on X were acting as foreign agents. So I'm going to read a few more things here, a few more data points for you guys, boys and girls here. Jason Miller. So let's see here. So not to be confused with Stephen Miller. Jason Miller was hired by India. Jason Miller was a senior advisor to U.S. President Trump. And he was hired by some India lobbying firm after he left the Trump administration amid post-Operation Sindoor diplomacy. Miller will be providing strategic counsel, tactical planning, traditional lobbying services, and perception management. The former Trump aide. Oh, that's odd. And he's married to an Indian woman, I think. J.D. Vance. Do you really think that J.D. Vance did not get an opportunity partly because he's married to an Indian woman who was seen very favorably by the Prime Minister or President of India? You think that's just a coincidence? Do you think it's just a coincidence that the evidence that coronavirus came out of a laboratory predominantly came from India? Do you think it's just a coincidence that some of the other biggest, loudest, fattest, shortest podcasters out there were streaming nonstop encouragement of support for India and the India military? Do you really think that's just a coincidence? That supposedly evidence that coronavirus came out of a cave came from India? Do you really think that's just a coincidence? That the subcommittee in the United States government is run by an American elected official who was born in India? Do you really think it's just a coincidence? That the Health and Human Services president right now, director in the United States of America, totally unqualified, was born in India? Do you really think that's just a coincidence? That we have all of these people born in India encouraging Americans to focus exclusively on China and Israel? You really think that's just a coincidence? That we have the whole clown show about who killed Charlie Kirk focused on which Jew killed Charlie Kirk and never mentioning India? Do you really think that's just a coincidence? I don't think it's a coincidence at all. And this is just the beginning. Do you really think it's just a coincidence? 9/11 happening, New York City, September 11th, 2001, of course. Hillary Clinton, possibly even regrettably, having been installed as a senator for New York State before September 11th because I think that there was fears that John F. Kennedy Jr. was going to run. John F. Kennedy Jr. was not killed by Hillary Clinton. I don't know who he was killed by, but it wasn't Hillary Clinton. I think John F. Kennedy Jr. was assassinated, probably because he was either going to run as a Republican or he was not willing to play along with the full plan for a biological terror attack in New York City. Meaning Hillary Clinton had to take over the role of senator for New York State. I'm sure she wanted political power, but I think that she had to do it. If she planned to kill JFK Jr., she wouldn't have filed the stupid paperwork to start collecting money to run for a senator for New York State 10 days before JFK Jr. was assassinated. I mean, give Hillary Clinton a little bit of a break there. And that's why Hillary Clinton killing John F. Kennedy Jr. is the only option that's put out there. And you're going to see why I'm talking about this in a minute. Well, Hillary Clinton went on to become Secretary of State for the United States of America during the Obama administration. Obama, very, very close with India. Just saying. I'm not going to say anything more than that, but just saying, okay? And Hillary Clinton's basically number 2 there. Everyone wants to focus on Uma Abedin. Again, that's a distraction. The real deputy was Richard Verma. Richard Verma, an Indian man born in Canada, came to the United States, grew up in Johnstown. And Richard Verma was used as the lawyer for the Winber Cancer Research Center, now the Chan Soon Sung Center. Richard Verma, who worked with other infiltrators such as Piper Stover to even go to Jonathan Goui's house and muck with his family. Richard Verma, who went on to become a key part of India's nuclear deal. I don't know what the formal title of it is. Richard Verma, who also was part of the Iran nuclear deal working with John Kerry. Richard Verma, who went on to become the first Indian man, at least Indian ancestry, and ambassador, United States appointed ambassador to India. That Richard Verma. Richard Verma, who worked in the law offices, very much trusted of the senator Harry Reid from Nevada regarding probably storage of spent nuclear fuels in Nevada. That Richard Verma. No doubt having met Robert Malone at one point years ago when Robert Malone was probably setting up the IT infrastructure out in Winber. You know, not too far away from where Flight 93 crashed. Richard Verma playing a huge part in the negotiations of which United States weapon systems can be purchased by India, working with the head of the DSCA, with the Defense Security Cooperation Agency, the DSCA, while he was ambassador to India. Why isn't anyone else who gives a damn about Charlie Kirk talking about this? Follow the money. That's right. Follow it to the, not the billions, but the trillions. Either Charlie Kirk isn't dead, and they're all part of some masquerade of making it all about Israel, fracturing the Republican Party. Or Charlie Kirk is dead, and again, they are being paid to protect India, and again, keeping everyone focused on Israel and dividing the Republican Party, which is only going to play into the hands of a democratic and growing blue contingency in the United States of America, which is being more and more heavily infiltrated and dominated by political associations to the nation of India. So while everyone else is going Jew, 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 Israel, 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 well, congratulations, losers. You're focusing on a country that is 49th in GDP and has only 12 million people. You stupid losers. You're burning the American flag while you're saying you're trying to save it. I think that's my Sunday show. My Sunday show. Most important thing is to keep the most important thing as the most important thing. And if I'm wrong about Charlie Kirk, and remember, I'm only wrong about one person. I'm not the person that's deciding to make everything about how Israel killed Charlie Kirk. Other people did. Who's paying them to screw over the United States of America? Love you guys very much. Have a great day. God bless.